Hello. Well, welcome back to another episode of Let Them See Your Mind. It's your girl, LD Marie, and we are back. Thank you so much for watching. So today, I know that the inauguration for the states have passed. It was on January 20th, and I had the opportunity just to rewind back from the inauguration because I did not watch it on the day of like millions and millions of Americans and people worldwide did. I waited for a little bit because it was also Martin Luther King Day, and unconsciously, I was protesting the inauguration. But that's neither here nor there. So today we're going to be talking about the inaugurations, what some of the things that President Trump was actually saying within his speech. Also, just some little quirks and some things that I noticed during the inauguration. So sit back, relax, let's go. I want to put a disclaimer. These are my views. These are not no one else's views. These are not anybody else's. You can clip my views and put them somewhere else, but these are my views and I stand on them. I'm open the floor to any type of debate or conversation about how other people see it, because I'm not going to discount you or demean you because you have different views than I do. I'm open to conversation and debate. It just needs to be in a respectful manner. So let's talk about this inauguration. So in the beginning, it started out, I felt that it was already off because they moved the inauguration inside. The reasoning that they put it out there was it was just going to be beyond cold. It wasn't going to be beneficial for people out in the public that will be coming to the inauguration. However, I feel that because of a lot of disagreement of what happened with the election, also the two attempted assassinations on President Trump, I think it was best move for them to move it inside. That is my opinion. I don't know, but they had it inside. And when I guess this inauguration, I paid a little bit more attention than I did the last inauguration because it felt more joyous at the last celebration. Granted, it was President Biden and Vice President Harris. I was more joyful because Vice President Kamala Harris, who's also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, it just felt more like, yay, this is what we're waiting for. And then for me, I guess because that was the party I wanted to win at that time, and now I'm looking at a party that I don't necessarily agree with morals and values, it's different. And I guess for people that agree with President Trump and his policies, it was a more joyous occasion for them. And then just reminiscing and kind of just actually paying attention of what was going on, that was more of my goal when I was watching the inauguration. And there's a lot of stuff that's happened since the inauguration, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So it first starts out as an American tenor, Christopher Macro, I think his name was, and I hope I pronounced his name right. It started off with a tenor that was singing "Oh America," and then it led into just different people just coming in and saying their piece. Throughout the whole time as I was looking, I feel like Barron is a lot older than he was when he first got into office. He was just this little meek boy. Now he's turned into this grown, tall man, but even him looked like he didn't want to be there. Elon was just in his moment and he was very much excited, especially during the speech. Melania, I don't know what was the purpose of her wearing the hat, but I feel like the second lady was more standout than the first lady. And I think it should be opposite because the second lady had this beautiful pink ensemble on. First Lady Melania, she had this wide brim hat, low-key reminiscent of Renaissance. Lemonade. I can't remember the Beyonce song. I can't remember. But anywho, y'all know the song when she had the wide brim hat. And it's going to come to me later, I swear. Felt like at first she was in black, but she was actually in navy blue. But it just feel like, it didn't feel like, oh, I'm so proud of my husband. That's just my opinion. I'm pretty sure she was probably proud of her husband in that moment. But just to me, it just felt like you were in mourning. You dreading going back to the spotlight as far as the White House is concerned, which 9 out of 10, you were always in the spotlight because of your husband. When I was watching the inauguration and I was just looking about, and this is even before the speech that President Trump gave, it was just like, how can America be represented when it's not equally represented in its government? Like, I noticed, like, far out in this inauguration, I could count on my hand how many black people I saw. I can count on my hand on the minority within the building, and it was clearly a majority of the palm-skinned race. And and that was the question that kind of led into my mind of, like, how can America be so diverse, but yet in its government is not representative of the United States? It's not. Regardless of if we just had the first Black woman vice president, or we're having the first Black woman on the Supreme Justice, it's still in balance. There's a lot of talk when it comes to minority because of a lot of diversity that comes into the states. I feel a lot of the policies are trying to counteract that and still keep them as the majority. But at the end of the day, it's just, you just have that feeling of just like, I don't really belong. I don't know if that's coming from me as living an American expat living outside of the United States, but it's just that feeling that when you look in like inaugurations like this, you're not really represented within your government. Like, I know my representative, Jasmine Crockett, definitely the epitome of what I would see as far as my representative when it comes to Texas. But there are some people that may not feel that Jasmine Crockett is a representation of what their views and values are. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, I know that majority of her district is of us, and we voted for her, and we continue to support her, and she's doing a great job, by the way, and she continues to fight the system regardless of if the party is in minority. She is making a splash, and people are talking about, ooh, if she runs for president, they would vote for her. Now, I don't know if she actually gonna do it, but you never know. And now we go into the inauguration speech, and so you would expect that there is going to be some jabs, some punches at the last administration of how, oh, well, they didn't do this right, and this will be better, and there will be just other things that will come about. There was a lot of things that I had to kind of, look up, because he mentioned a president that I never heard of before until I actually looked him up, and it was President McKinley. And I've never heard of this. I've never actually paid attention to all the presidents of the United States, so don't quote me on this, but I never actually known him to be like one of the forefront presidents that actually made a difference until I actually looked him up. And one of the nicknames is for him is the original tariff man. He was also the president that was overseeing the American and Spanish War at the time, and he was the president that obtained Guam, Puerto Rico, and another territory that I can't remember at the stage. And then also he was responsible for gathering all that land during that time, and he enacted tariffs. President Trump mentions him and as saying that he was the exact words weren't this, but it just felt like within the context of what he was saying is like, this is a man that he aspires to be within his presidency this going around, because there's been a lot of talk of he wants to put America first, American workers are first, bringing that money back home, and we're not focusing on abroad, which I think is a good thing but also a bad thing. Now, don't get me wrong, we need to take care of home, which is America, and I'm still a part of America. I'm still an American citizen, so any benefits of that nature would be come from myself when I am at home. But I do believe in his philosophy of putting America first and doing some things that benefit Americans first before we send out and lash out money abroad. I also understand that foreign policy is very important in order to have the safety and well-being of everyone in the world, because if there's a problem in one country, then it can trickle down to a whole bunch of countries. Ultimately, it comes to the powerhouses, and where powerhouses need to act as negotiators, as we can see with the Israel and Gaza war. But ultimately, even sometimes the bigger powers can't really decide what's going on with these conflicts. And ultimately, it does take time in order to get things done, especially with foreign policy, and it takes a lot of money. While I understand the philosophy of putting America first, we also need to understand there is a responsibility from the United States to not only make sure that there is peace throughout the whole world, but also understanding that it doesn't ultimately affect us. Because Israel and Gaza, you may think it not affect you at home, but it actually does affect us. When a lot of people say that the Trump presidency is not going to affect their country, they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. America affects everything across the world, regardless of what people say. No matter how much people hate America or they despise America, they think we're obnoxious, we're this, we're that. It is ultimately the ultimate goal that a where it stands with American politics and what's happened, it affects the entire world. Same way that China does. Like, if China does something with their government, ultimately it's going to affect America. It's going to affect a lot of countries, because a lot of countries are dependent on the world powers, which are China, Russia, America, United Kingdom, those different types of powerhouse countries. And people do not understand that. And at the end of the day, when you actually see what is going on politically in these different countries, some of them are emulating what's happening with Trump. And some people are pulling out of the World Health Organization, they're pulling out of the Paris Agreement, and it's not in the benefit of, they're only in the benefit of themselves, but not in the benefit of the entire world, and aka climate change. But like I said, to each his own. Those are my views. Some of the things that he promised within his inauguration speech is changing, which reference to President McKinley, is changing one of the tallest mountains in the one of the mountains in Alaska. I'm gonna put down the name, the original name that President Obama bestowed it on through an executive order. Now Trump is saying that he's gonna put an executive order to change it back. But the thing about it is, the reason that it had to go for an executive order is there was a lot of conflict with the local people there who've been there for thousands of years, and all of a sudden this mountain is named after a president that nobody even wants or cares about, and these people have been here forever. So there's been a conflict, and President Obama signed an executive order to name it the native mountain that it is, and then now Trump is revising it because he's like, you can't rewrite history. This is his monument and this is his legacy. He needs to have it. And some of the other things that he's choosing to change is he's restoring common sense, and what he means by that is restoring the fact that there is male and female, and that's it. Now, I do not understand where he comes from when it comes restoring common sense. Like, I get, like, we are living in a time that it has evolved to where it's no longer just male or female, and it's gone into these different variations of gender because of the world that we have revolved in. And what I have learned, not only within this role of what has been going on for a very long time, we're just now catching up. It's a lot of things that are happening and evolving with the time. When he says things like we're restoring common sense, I don't necessarily think that is restoring common sense. It's just restoring bigotry and disrespect, because ultimately when you're asked to be called something, or when you're asked to do something, or you're asked to, in a respectful way, and like, hey, this is not who I am, this is who I am, then I think it comes with a level of respect. It's not necessarily changing your views, changing your values. It's respecting their views and their values and where they're coming from. Because we've already established a long time ago, gender dysphoria is not a mental diagnosis. Whereas the same long time ago, a lot of different mental illnesses that we would classify 100 years ago are not the same mental illnesses that we classify today. I think that is the problem when it comes to people when they're wanting to restore common sense. It doesn't make any sense. But hey, like I said, this is some of his views and everything else. One of the other things that he said that he was going to do, and I think it's more of a petty move, is just change the Gulf of Mexico to say the Gulf of America. Another thing is just making sure that he said he wants to, but within his presidency, he would like to have the trip to Mars, which that was very exciting for Elon Musk. I think he went ahead and did his trip to the moon on his own dime. I don't know for sure, but he got really excited about the trip to Mars, which I think that is more of a race as it was back in the 1960s, the trip to the moon, and now we are focused on a trip to Mars, and so that's what he would want to do. Another thing, which did I catch? Oh, a lot of things had to do with immigration. Immigration was one of those things. He's saying that he's going to remain in Mexico, the policy that he implemented when he was in office last, where essentially if you have an asylum seeking application, you would remain in Mexico during that time, which the problem is with the immigration system, it can last up to 10 years and you're living in a country within that time, and usually a lot of people tend to give up once that happens. Another thing is catch and release, one of the policies. So if there's at any point in time that a person is arrested and they found out they're undocumented, then they won't do a catch and release. They will just deport them. no matter what they done, no matter what they did, no matter if they've been paying their taxes for 5-10 years and been here, or that no matter what kind of contributions that they've had within this society, they're going to deport them, which a lot of people are upset. And a lot of people somewhat are surprised. It's like he was saying the exact same thing throughout his whole campaign. Now he's doing it within, I think we're like almost a month into his presidency. And so people are getting upset for the things that he said he was going to do. And these are his supporters. So one of the other things that I wanted to touch on, like he ended his speech. I would say it was a pretty good speech. I would say it was on brand for Trump to have his speech. The next go around when it came to it was all the prayers and blessings that the clergymen bestowed upon the presidency. So there was one particular man, and this was coming from, I don't know if he was coming from a Pentecostal church or a Baptist church. It was a black man, and he was very much doing his prayer. He copied a portion of the I Have a Dream speech. And for me, in that moment, as he was praying, for me personally, I just really felt it was very performative. I didn't feel it was sincere. I didn't feel it was of God. I feel that he was there to be a performative. He looked back and said, "This is good, master." That's how it felt to me. Now, I'm not going to say that it was like that. I'm not going to say that there was no intention when he was praying, but it just felt in the moment, looking back, it felt uncomfortable watching it. And I think more or less it felt uncomfortable because a lot of people within the MAGA movement, they're following this man because they feel like this man understands their plight. And a lot of people look at this man, and when I say this man, President Trump, and they look at him and they're like, oh, he's gonna get things done. And I think a lot of his supporters don't actually know how he's gonna go about doing it. Or if they do know, they're shocked by the responses. That's just me. Because there's been a lot of interviews, there's been a lot of things, and TV does entertainment for its own thing. But it just seems like when you're speaking to a supporter, the elevator does not go all the way to the top. Logic is not there. But there is just certain things that they want. They don't know necessarily how to articulate. That is my opinion. And I preface this is my opinion. And at the end of the day, I think it just really just shows like how articulate some people can be. And there are a lot of smart people that are MAGA supporters, and there are certain things that come about to where they are like, okay, well, I'm supporting this man because of X, Y, and Z. Some people are supporting him because of the things he say and the things he does, and they feel like that's their person. And it's fine. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to. All in all, I would say the inauguration was something that everyone should have at least, whether gotten short clips, long clips, the Sparks Note version, everybody should listen to. Because over the next few weeks, some of the things that he has implemented has started. He already put tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which now he put a pause on Canada's tariffs for 30 days. I don't know necessarily about Mexico within this video, but also just doing things, trying to eliminate birthright citizenship. He's putting in his orders for the immigration and ISIS, and a lot of people are scared. A lot of people are not going to work. A lot of people are just looking at it and it's just like, oh my God, what am I doing? We even have celebrities crying on the internet and asking them if they're really sincere, if they're really not insincere. So it has been a lot, and it's only been a few weeks after he's come into office, but we have heard nothing. I haven't heard nothing about his vice president. I have been hearing all about President Trump and what he's been doing. Like literally on the first day, he signed over 1,000 executive orders, pulling out certain stuff that previous administrations have put together. So we don't know what's going to be happening for the next 4 years. I'm hopeful that there's some good and not all bad, but we're just going to have to figure out and let it know. But as for me, as an American expat and Americans all over the world, we're just sitting and watching like everybody else. And the only way it really affects us is when we go back home. And sometimes it'll affect us when we're walking around in our everyday life, when people are asking us, oh, do you like Trump? Like, what do you think about what Trump did? And now you have to be the token American to explain, like, explain the whole situation, or try to get into it in a conversation politically with somebody you barely even know. Like, it's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of Americans that have come abroad. But ultimately, it's good, as I said in previous videos, it's good to always tap in and know what's going on in the States, because at at the end of the day, some of that stuff that's happening will transition over to the countries that you may live in. We've already seen it when he was first elected. Country leaders were gathering together trying to figure out what's going to be happening in the name of Trump. And so they're still trying to figure that out. I'm just saying, even here in the United Kingdom, there is the UK Reform Party that is driving their force into the opposition party. And so, which is the Conservative Party here in the United Kingdom. So there's a lot of stuff and a lot of dominoes that can go into effect when you have someone like that in office. Even now that there was a senator that implemented, oh, well, Trump needs a third term, even though in America you only have 2 terms as a president. Oh, he needs a third term. And so now he's trying to get his third term. And that's what everybody's afraid of. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about what this 4 years is going to look like, especially for my American aspects? What do you believe that it's going to be looking like in the next 4 years? Are you staying abroad for the next 4 years, or are you going to go back sometime soon? Who knows? But all in all, I just hope and pray that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I thank y'all so much for tuning in and watching me and talking about the inauguration. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and also check out this playlist of videos where I'm talking about different politics and different agendas that I have talked about previously. This is another video that has been seen to where if you've been on my channel before, this is the best video that they'll want you to see after watching this video. Also, I am on not only I'm on YouTube, I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and all of those platforms. And I just want to make sure that whether you're listening to me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music, I'm always here for you, girl. Y'all can ask questions, y'all can leave me comments, and y'all can conversate and debate with me because this is an open page. So come on, let's get to work. But this is your girl, LD Marie, and we are out.